This is an Eye on Annapolis bonus podcast.
Well, once again, coming from the owner's suite, we were able to pry a guy out of the press box, and we're here today with Matt Sabados, who is the PR coordinator and the voice, or the broadcaster, the voice of the Bowie Baysox. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, John?
Awesome. Well, you've got a rare sort of off day.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this, but you are the voice of the Baysox now for the third season? Second season. Okay. How did you land the gig?
So I was in the Eastern League where the Baysox play previously, 2021. I was with the Tigers affiliate. They're located up in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Seawolves?
Yeah, the Seawolves. I had caught on to that job from an additional colleague that was familiar with their lead broadcaster. They had introduced us, and he offered me the position. I worked there for a season, and then they had recommended me here for Bowie when the Baysox position had opened up. So it's a lot of businesses, and this one very, very strictly is a lot about who you know a lot of times and about getting the good timing. And I got lucky on both of those parts, but I've been very, very grateful to be here in Bowie after catching on this way.
Well, what's your background? I mean, you've got a voice for radio, a voice for television. It's obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, is that did you go to school for that?
I did, yeah. So I'm from St. Louis originally, grew up there, and I went to college there. I found out, I started to realize around late high school, senior year, and then the start of college that broadcasting in some sense was where I wanted to pursue a career, and sports followed very soon after that. Fell more toward baseball about halfway through my time in college. And then after I graduated college, one of the problems with wanting to jump right into baseball is that usually when you graduate college, you're graduating in May, and the baseball season's already started at that point. So you usually can't catch on to a full-time job or really even a seasonal job at that point. So fortunately, I was able to get a role with a different Division II university out in North Carolina for one school year, and then from there I had jumped into minor league baseball from that point on. So my first year in affiliated minor league baseball was with the Philadelphia Phillies AAA affiliate, doing just their pre- and post-game show. Then in 2019, I was in North Carolina again, working with a Houston Astros affiliate. 2020, of course, no season because of the pandemic. Right. And then 2021, I was with the Erie Seawolves, and then now here with Bowie since.
Well, I'll tell you, anybody that follows the Bowie Baysox on Facebook, and they should, and Instagram and every place else, I mean, you do a fantastic job as far as the pregame coverage. I mean, you pretty much do it all.
I do, and that was something that I've always kind of prided myself on when it comes to who I am just as an employee, and it's what I kind of presented myself as before I got this job, was that I can be more than just the broadcaster in terms of being a face for the team, a video editor, a graphic designer. I'm very full service in a lot of that ways, and I'm very proud of the content that I do put out for our organization when I do get the chance. So yeah, I'm glad that little pregame show is my pet project. It's my baby. I'm glad that it looks the way it does. I just wish that the computer software that makes it work would be more cooperative sometimes. That's really the only problem.
Technology. Yeah. You got to love it and you got to hate it, both at the same time, that's for sure. Now, so do you live out here now?
So I currently live in D.C. I lucked into a relatively cheap apartment when I first got my job out here. And
well, you came at the end of COVID, right?
Right before the start of 2022. So they were
prices, still reeling from it.
Yeah. They were back on the come up a little bit in terms of just the general prices. But I found a nice place only about 5 minutes max away from Highway 50, so I can just hop onto Highway 50 and it just brings me right to the ballpark, or I can go straight to Annapolis whenever I feel like it. It's a very nice little middle ground for me because I like spending time in D.C., but I also like the much calmer feel out in Annapolis, and like I said, it's such an easy commute to work at the same time.
Your Midwest roots just came out there when you called it Highway 50. It's
I guess that's fair. Yeah,
we're going to get into the whole thing, the bubblers and the grinders and the hoagies and everything else. It's kind of funny when you see the different regional dialects that are there. But now, as far as your job, okay, when you come into the stadium, I mean, you're not just here for the 2 hours of the game.
No.
I mean, your day starts well before that and ends well after the team is gone. But as far as, so you are the broadcaster during the game time. So I mean, you are the voice that we're hearing when we're in the stadium. And I mean, it's got to be challenging to follow that. I mean, I cover Navy football, but not certainly in a broadcast sense. Yeah. And I'm up there and I'm in awe of some of these radio guys that are going in. It's the ESPN guys, of course, they got like 3 spotters with binoculars. Yeah. They've got everything which you don't have. I mean, how do you keep on your feet?
Well, it's a lot easier than football. That's for certain, because a lot of times you have to be at least mildly cognizant of all 22 guys on the field when you're watching a football game. But and obviously you usually just want to be more mindful of who's got the ball, and a lot of times in baseball is the same way, because 90% of the action is just between the pitcher and the batter. And if the batter puts the ball into play, then yeah, that's something that you definitely deviate from a little bit and talk about where the ball is going, who's it involved with. But you don't always necessarily need to be paying as close of attention to, say, the first baseman if a ball is hit out to left field. And sometimes you do miss stuff when, on the rare occasion that something unique happens. But other than that, you're still just... It's gotten to the point, especially once you do this long enough, like I have, you that little moment of processing in your brain where you're seeing something to saying something, that moment decreases and decreases and decreases and just almost vanishes to where you can just see it and just describe it, where like as it's happening.
That's pretty impressive.
All it takes is just the reps. You just have to keep doing it so you can get that little processing moment shorter and shorter.
Well, I think you look at when you, like when, who was that went into the quarterback that went into the booth? And
Tony Romo?
Yeah, where he plays it, he knows it, the repetition, he says, okay, well, this is going to happen. And I imagine that's probably very similar to you.
Not entirely. I mean, I suppose when it comes to just watching enough of it, because I'm different in a lot of ways that I didn't really play baseball into high school. I kind of stopped around 6th, 7th grade. I still followed the sport casually, but it wasn't until I kind of got back around to it again in high school and college, watching it, that I was able to pick up more on it. And I've learned more watching it than I probably. Obviously, when I was a kid, I wasn't paying too much attention, because I'm a kid. Nobody pays attention when they're a kid. But I've learned more watching it in my adulthood than I did as a kid playing it. So it's been a different path for me specifically. But I'm still confident in what I've picked up out of the sport. Yeah.
Right. In your career, have you any games or incidents or any episodes or anything that stand out? Particularly memorable?
In terms of memorable, I'd say the first. So back when I was working with the Phillies AAA affiliate, the first full game I did by myself was very memorable, because it was a home game. It's a very lovely park they have there at Lehigh Valley, and they always draw very well. So I very much enjoyed that. I'd say 2019. I was working for a team that had begun their inaugural season with a new ballpark. So the first game there was big crowd, big event, all sorts of new things. So that was very fun in its own right too. And then here with Bowie, I think my first Navy night was very, very nice. Very good to finally get to witness that staple in minor league baseball. And then lately, just I'd say that we had a no-hitter a few weeks back from 3 different pitchers combined. That was the first 9-inning no-hitter I'd been a part of, which was very fun. And then in terms of fun, in terms of memorable experiences, I think that those are the 3 that are probably up there.
Okay.
In terms of fun, I know you had already brought this up to me off air, but that skunk that had invaded the field, yeah.
Go look for the video
back,
on this.
yeah.
This is great.
Yeah,
that was up in Harrisburg, right?
It was, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Was that fun for you?
Oh, it was, yeah. I was glad I caught it right away, because like play had stopped. A couple of people are looking around, and I'm still looking myself. I'm saying, well, Like, why are we stopped here? We're late enough in the game. I don't think it was that relatively close of a game. So I just said to myself, well, why are we stopped? Come on, let's keep the game moving. And then I catch this. I catch the skunk over there, and I said, oh, here we go. Now we actually have something to talk about. So I was able to. I was glad I was able to kind of play that off as quickly as it was, because that Harrisburg is unique. That their ballpark is on a small island in a river that cuts through the state capital the way it does. So there's a lot of wildlife that can just inhabit that island and can't go anywhere because it's an island. So they're prone to showing up in the facility, but I'd never seen it happen during the game. Because obviously there's a lot going on the field during the game. You figured it would frighten them away, but I guess not.
There you go. Ultimately ducked out through the center field wall. Yeah. That was awesome. Well, and another video that I did see, and that was dating back a little bit ago, and this, after our conversation for the last 15 minutes or so, may surprise some people, but you do have Asperger's.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you talk about people that have cancer and they kick cancer's ass and everything else. I mean, from everything that I know, which is very limited on that, you've just, the hell with that.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. But it's a constant fight. That's the other problem, is that there are parts of me that I'm still not fully able to overcome. I'm able to present myself in a very professional and sociable manner, and I in the coverage of this previously, I made sure to thank my mom for a lot of that, because she's a special education teacher by trade. She finally recently retired, and I'm very grateful for that. But I'm grateful for her and her experience to make sure that I could stand on my own 2 feet once I had gotten to adulthood. So
moms rock.
Yeah, I love really my mom very much. Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, I'll tell you, you have kicked ass career-wise, and I will say that. Before we wrap it up, what is your favorite part of this gig? I mean, you said you've got your own little pet project as far as the pregame videos, and what aspect of this job? I mean, and you don't interact too much one-on-one with fans just by the nature of the position. I mean, you're in the booth, you have the microphone in your face, or you're out in front with a camera in your face, and when the fans come in, you're sort of hidden.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite aspect of this job?
I do enjoy the concept of being isolated, but also broadcasting in a way that I am talking to everyone. One of my teachers in college had said, when it comes to being a play-by-play broadcaster, you have to imagine as if you're sitting in the stands with a blind friend of yours. You need to describe everything that's happening in the game, because your friend obviously can't see. You need to walk through each beat and each motion that strictly matters to the game. But at the same time, you need to be having a friendly conversation, because that's your friend. You need to be talking with just that person. You're not trying to talk to the entire audience. You're just talking to your friend sitting in the stands. So that little aspect of it has always stuck with me, because it lets me just sit and enjoy the game in the way that I feel like I would enjoy it, sitting there and talking with a friend.
If Matt Sabados wasn't here at the Bowie Baysox or in sports broadcasting, where would you be?
Probably in graphic design or video editing, something along those lines. That's the thing, and like I had said earlier, I take a lot of pride in a lot of the different kinds of work that I can do. But outside of broadcasting, I feel like those two facets are two that I've enjoyed. Actually, like exploring my own creativity in, which is kind of the same to broadcasting, because you have to be creative in the way that you talk on air in a lot of ways. But yeah, I feel like somewhere along those lines.
What's in the future for you?
Hopefully Baltimore.
Okay.
That's it. Is
that the dream job?
At this point, yeah. There's one of the things that I've tried to avoid in my career, especially in terms of broadcasting, is setting a defined peak of a mountaintop, because this is such a niche kind of job that you can't necessarily just focus strictly on one position, because it might not ever open up, or the ins and outs to get you to that position might never fall in your favor, because it's a lot of timing and luck. So the major leagues, a more broad answer for it, yes. But at this point, with how close I am to it, both physically, where we're located, and in terms of the level and organization I'm working in, Baltimore seems like the obvious answer. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you are kicking ass. The fans do appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
and as far as dealing with your Asperger's is incredibly laudable.
Thank you.
And thank you for being the voice of the Baysox. My guess is that you're not going to be here too terribly long. And I hope I'm right, because I would love to someday, see you calling for maybe it's the Yankees. I have no bad word here in town, but that's or any major league team. I would love to see that and love to hear it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
This has been a bonus podcast from Ion Annapolis. Please visit us at ionannapolis.net. Follow us on Facebook at All Annapolis and on Twitter at Ion Annapolis. And if you haven't subscribed to the Daily News Brief podcast, go for it. And all of your local news will be delivered to your phone, tablet, or smart device by 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday.